Okay. So, what's everyone been doing today? Sightseeing, yeah. It's been a long day.
Oh, very.
Very. I just want to go home. Yeah.
I don't want to go
Our day
no,
hasn't
about
ended
90
2 days ago.
minutes this walk, about 90 minutes or so. So, well, everyone used the loo that needed to? Okay. Can we just come forward a bit, everybody? That's right. What's this? What's
90.
BJHS? Oh, that's your school. So you've all got that, or not everyone? Very neat. Yeah. Where's your EF bag? You know what EF bags are? Okay, fine. So welcome everyone. My name's Justin, and over the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to be hearing all about the dark and devious and deranged deeds of this veritable psychopath, this madman, this nutter known as Jack the Ripper, stalking the streets of London, the streets of the City of London and the East End in what has become known as the Autumn of Terror of 1888. Before we get going, if I could just mention safety. Yeah, because you guys are you all from the States, or are some people from Canada? Okay, so I guess it doesn't really matter what state you're from in the States, you'll know that you all drive on the wrong side of the road. No? Not correct? No, a bit controversial. Anyway, you certainly drive on the other side of the road, so please only cross the road when you feel it is safe to cross the road. That would be marvellous. Okay, safety announcement out of the way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to imagine a scene, an image, a picture in your head. It's an East End scene. This is the East End, by the way. Back in the old days, in the East End, this is where like the poorer people lived, the poorest of the poor. So I'd like you to imagine in your head this scene, this image of a woman, a pretty, well-dressed young woman. She's walking along a busy street, a street a bit like that street we just walked down, lots of traffic. She's kind of finding it hard to see where she's going. There's lots of fog obscuring the street lights. She decides to leave the busy street and go into a much smaller, deserted alleyway. There's hardly anyone there. There's not much in the way of illumination, maybe a single flickering gas light. And as she walks along this alleyway, an alleyway a bit like this one, she sees a man approaching. A man in a top hat and a swirling cape. He's got one of those Gladstone bags with him, sort of Victorian bags. And as she approaches him, he puts his hand into his bag. What do you reckon he draws out?
A straight blade.
A knife. Surgical knife. I like that one, exactly. Surgical knife. It's like that big. It's a massive surgical knife. And as she goes past him, he plunges the knife into her body again and again and again. She's not got a smile on her face. She's screaming like crazy. There's blood coming out. She's going absolutely bonkers, obviously, because she's dying. And she collapses to the ground. And, well, she dies, doesn't she? Because this is Jack the Ripper. People die, I'm afraid. So there you go. He's standing over her warm body. And then he disappears into the alleyways, into the lanes of the East End. Now, to what extent that is the image you have of Jack the Ripper, I don't know. It might be, it might not be. But the purpose of this walk over the next 1.5 hours or so is just to peel back the layers of Jack the Ripper to sort out what is fact and what is fiction. So to decide really what is myth and what is reality. And our story starts a few days after the 7th of August, 1888, and there had been a brutal, a vicious, a bloody murder of an East End prostitute by the name of Martha Tadman. Poor old Martha had been stabbed 39 times in the head, the neck, and the chest. So even by the harsh, violent standards of the East End of the time, it was a particularly horrific, a particularly horrible murder indeed. And with her that night was her friend. Her friend had a rather splendid name. Her friend was called Pearly Poll. Anyone called Pearly Poll here? Probably not. Pearly Poll's a great name, I think, yeah. And Pearly Poll peeled off with one man that was a soldier, and Martha with the other. And her body, Martha's body, was found a little bit later that night. And it was found in this street, this very street, just a little bit further up on the left-hand side in a building that no longer exists. That brick building is there instead, that modern brick building. That is where her body was found. So it was very, very